again, and welcome to the mini lesson for Odysseus and the Cyclops. If you have not yet seen the main lesson, you could do so now. It's all about science. But in today's mini lesson, we're going to be writing an argument writing piece. We're going to be using the Greek myth for some inspiration. So let's recap on that myth. Odysseus and his men had been sailing the sea and were ready for some time on dry land. They came across an island that had a large cave opening. Being as brave as they were, they did not stop to think of who lived in the cave. The men ate the food and drank the liquids in the cave. They lay their heads down for a rest. As they were asleep, in came a large Cyclops named Polyphemus, leading his flock of sheep. He rolled the giant rock to cover the doorway. When he turned to find the men in his cave, he grew angry and rather hungry. So he picked up two of the men, bashed their heads together and had them in one bite. Then Polyphemus fell asleep. Odysseus and his men had nowhere to go. They could not move the stone. In the morning, Polyphemus woke up, had two more of the men for breakfast, rolled open the door and took his sheep outside. Odysseus had nowhere to go. Odysseus came up with a plan. Him and his leftover men took a large bit of wood that was used as furniture and made a sharp point. When the Cyclops came back that evening, Odysseus offered him some of their strong wine that they'd brought from them off their ship. Because Polyphemus had never drunk this wine before, it made him act quite silly, and then he got very sleepy. He fell asleep straight away. Just before he fell asleep, Polyphemus asked Odysseus what his name was. Being the sneaky man he was, Odysseus replied, "No man." Then Polyphemus fell into a deep, deep sleep. The men took the sharpened wood and put the point into the fire until it was bright red. With all the strength that the men had, they took that point and shoved it right into Polyphemus's eye. Polyphemus jumped up, screaming and shouting. All the other Cyclopses around the island came running to see what was happening. They asked him, "Polyphemus, who did this to you?" And he replied, "No man." So the other Cyclopses laughed and left him to be. The next morning, Odysseus and his men tied themselves to the bottom side of the sheep. Polyphemus awoke and walked his sheep outside as he always did. Now that he had no sight, he felt the tops of the sheep to make sure there was no one riding on top of it. Odysseus and his men had a lucky escape and were able to make their way back to their ship. Once Odysseus and his men had reached the ship, they called out to Polyphemus, "It was not no man that did that to you. It was in fact Odysseus that had blinded you." So, what did you guys think about that myth? I know that if I was in that situation, I would have done anything I possibly could to save my life. That's just human instinct. But Odysseus and his men were in the wrong. They snuck into the cave and had all the food and drink without even asking. Like I said in the main lesson, no, I don't think eating the men should have been the punishment, but I guess that's just what Cyclopses do. Right, I'm going to need your help to help me to decide who was right in that situation. So, grab a whiteboard or a piece of paper. Divide it into two columns, for and against. The question you're going to be asking yourself is, should Odysseus have blinded Polyphemus? In your for column, you're going to be writing your reasons why you think he should have blinded him. And in your against column, you're going to be writing the reasons why you think he shouldn't have blinded him. Now, discuss with your partners to gather more ideas, and I'll see you soon. Okay, now let's have a look at the main things you need for an argument piece of writing. Your introduction needs to explain what your argument is, but it should not give away any of your main points. Make sure you start with an interesting sentence or a rhetorical question. Your first paragraph is all about your reasons for. Why do you think Odysseus should have blinded the Cyclops? Your second paragraph is all about your reasons against. Why should he not have blinded the Cyclops? Make sure you are stating the facts from your for and against lists. The last paragraph is your conclusion. In this paragraph, you can add your own opinions on what you would have done. Now remember, this is an argument piece of writing, so you want everyone to agree with what you think. So have a think about what language features you could use to make it really interesting and engaging. Now, it's your time to start planning and writing. I would love to see and read your arguments when you're finished, so send them my way when you're all done. You have fun with that, and I'll see you soon.